Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So yesterday, last class, we saw how the self is not gained through any means of knowledge. And we're looking at the inferential knowledge, and that is that inference, conviction, comparison, uh, perception, all that is at the equipment level. Atma does not come under the purview of any one of those. And in the and then it said, after having said that the truth is beyond the purview of any authority of knowledge, such as Shabda Pramana or Anuman Pramana. Praman means the means. So it's not known through the means of words, and it's not known through the means of inference. And Anuman Praman, the Pratyaksha Pramana or direct means of knowledge is now being taken up. So what is this direct perception of knowledge? We are not talking about direct perception at the sensory level. We are talking about it from the conscious level. So what is this direct perception? That is the only way to know the truth. To know the truth is to be the truth, in short. Vishayachiya baradi akhanda ghasati tondi tiye indriye godi na gheti hai. The sense organs that constantly graze on the infertile rocky grounds of sense objects cannot grasp the self. Very simple. The field of operation for the sense organs is the sense objects. Nothing can be gained out of it. All sense objects are inert. They're fleeting, they're changing. How can something that is so subtle, it is subtler even than the causal, how can that be gained through the objects? On the rocky infertile ground because objects, there is very little grass, but the animals browse even on those small patches when nothing else is available. This is what our mind is doing. It doesn't know something higher to hold on to or contemplate on. So it is thinking only about the gross objects. It is only thinking about the relationships. It's only thinking about the that fertile ground. Infertile ground is memories also. It's still thinking about the memories. It's still thinking about the future aspirations. And in this way, when nothing else is available, because it has not made itself available to something else. The senses cannot be available, cannot make themselves available to the Atma. It is impossible. Their field of operation is only in the outside. The moment, even if the eyes, the vision comes to try to know itself, but it never tries to do that. The mind never tries to come to know itself. It is only thinking about thoughts. So also the senses created by the Swayambhu the Paramatma can function inherently only in the field of objective perceptions. That is the law, that is the way it is. You cannot help that. Mind can only think thoughts. The eyes can only see colors and form. The tongue can only taste. It cannot interpolate. This becomes such a strong habit that even in understanding the truth, the tendency to attribute colors, forms, names, etc. continues. I want to feel the truth. I want to hear the truth. Is this a sign that I am coming close to myself? I am coming close to the Atma. Yesterday, one young boy, he every now and then he asks questions. Swamiji, the sunrise is so divine, the sunset is so divine that I feel I am one with it. I am rising and I am going. That is normal. With sunrise, everyone wakes up. Sunrise, everyone goes to sleep. I feel the tree is talking to me. I feel the ocean is talking to me. Oh, it's so overwhelming. What is he? And then I said, don't get carried away by this. Who is knowing it? But whenever I say that question and try to bring his attention back to the witnessing consciousness, he's so intoxicated by the outside that he will always find a way to go back to some. If he has to explain, he will explain it through something. Nothing wrong, because when communication has to be made, you need some support. Nothing wrong with it. How can truth be spoken of? It cannot be spoken of. Yet scriptures are doing it. How are they doing it? Only by giving us through the various words, through examples, through similes, through ideas which take us beyond all the words. However, when the senses, the indriyas, focus their attention on their source called the Atma Tattva, they are no more able to function. We have done this experiment or example, given this example many times. If the eyes, the vision, if the eyes which are illuminating all the colors and forms, if they try to, I want to see my own eyes, how will you try? In that trying, all the objective world will vanish. Or where is this vision coming from? It's coming from the mind. Oh, I want to know the mind. The senses try to go back. They will dissolve. All the perceptions of the senses will dissolve. Similarly, the mind is continuously having thoughts. If the mind says, I don't want to think of thoughts, they come and go. I want to know that which is permanent. And it tries to, or just, I am the accommodator. I am the space in which all the thoughts are coming. Who am I? It asks this question to itself. All the thoughts will dissolve by themselves. Similarly, the I, the ego, who says, I know the waker, dreamer, sleeper. But who am I then? The ego will dissolve. See? And that is what is told here. That you cannot, the senses or the mind or the intellect, then they cannot come to know their own source, because the person who is perceiving, who is the perceiver behind the senses, who is the feeler behind the mind, who is the thinker behind the intellect, he himself in essence is the truth, is the Atma. A doubt was raised by the student in the Keno Upanishad. O teacher, kene shitam, prompted by whom is the mind able to function in its field? Prompted by what authority do the pranas start functioning? By whose will do men utter speech? Prompted by whom are the eyes able to see and the ears able to hear? This was the first or second verse. He asked this question to the teacher. Have we asked that question? Even though we have heard Keno Upanishad, has it come back to us? When we sit in meditation, do we just straight away go into lethargy and I don't want to think anymore and go to sleep and then get up and say, oh, I was in meditation, I think? Have we thought about that question of the student? Did we contemplate on the answer that the teacher gave? That what is the prompter? The pranas of the prana, the breath of the breath, the mind of the mind. Did we contemplate on that? The teacher replies in the same vein, it is the eye of the eye, the ear of the ear. That's what I just said. And when the student said, why don't you answer me straight, why you are going around the bush? He says, this is the only way I know, this is how I was taught by the teacher, and there is no other way to put it across to you, because the one who knows it, he doesn't know it, and the one who doesn't know it knows it. Na viditadatha aviditadadhi. If someone says, I know it, he doesn't know it. Someone knows that it cannot be known, only he knows it. So, contemplate on these ones. Yeah. You as an individual will vanish, because these are all very, very powerful mantras. Why is the teacher giving such an enigmatic answer? Because Paramatma Tattva cannot be better defined through language. So the teacher says, the eye cannot go there, nor the speech, nor the mind. So that which itself has come into creation, as if, very important, as if. That itself which has come into creation, how can it illuminate or come to know that which is beyond creation? The senses have come only at the time of birth. The mind has come into existence only at the time of birth. Isn't it? For us, we don't even know that there is only one mind, not many minds. We don't even accept till now that the mind goes with the soul to the next body. That is also as if some story has to be told. Rebirth. We haven't even come to realize that yet. Because if that is also realized, your actions in the present moment will get refined. We have put all our eggs in this basket called waking, and we take only that as real. Still we have not accepted that way. The reality is only one, and that is Atma. Because once we take that as the real, then everything will start changing, shifting. Meaning your attitude, your attentiveness, your disposition, your poise, it will shift. This is the thought reflected in the present OVE. Absence can also be used to establish presence. Absence can also be used to establish presence. Just like we are using words to know at this moment, we are using words to know the truth. How do we know the truth through words? Not because words are there. No, the truth is that which is illuminating the words. Similarly, absence of words, how is it illuminating the truth? Who knows the absence? That is the truth. In who is illuminating the absence? That is the truth. So when it says absence can also be used to establish presence. So absence and presence are opposite to each other. Both are illuminated by someone, by the illuminator. That illuminator is other than absence or presence of objectivity. But when there is absence of all thoughts, has the presence vanished? Presence of objectivity has vanished. But the presence of the self continues in and through the absence, isn't it? Right or not? So, absence helps us in establishing, or here it says, absence can also be used to establish presence. Because we know someone is illuminating the absence, both in the deep sleep as well as in meditation, as well as between the two thoughts, even right now as we are thinking. So now one line was given, absence can also be used to establish presence. If you have read that, what Swamiji has written, would you have understood in the way it was explained? See, this is Anupalabdhi Pramana. Anupalabdhi, it is that means through which there is a gainless gain. Anupalabdhi. It is not when I see, I gain. Upalabdhi is there. What is the upalabdhi? I know that each one of you is there. I can see myself also. But in the absence, what is there? You know you are there, the presence is there, but you cannot hold it, you cannot catch it, you cannot objectify it, you cannot think about it through the thoughts. Anupalabdhi. When it is said that none of the means of knowledge, such as the sense organs, mind, or intellect, is operative in the Atma Tattva, can we say that the Atma Tattva is Anupalabdhi, not available? Can we say that? Is that your experience? Between the two thoughts, are you unavailable? जरा सोचिए. Atma Tattva is a Vishaya, means Atma, the self, cannot be objectified. Vishaya means object. You understand that much? Vishaya means object. What is the word in it? Vish. Vish means poison. That which is poisonous is object. So all objects of the world are poisonous. If you interact with them, if you get attached to them, if you live at their mercy, if you get entangled in them. Atma is avishaya. Atma because Atma cannot be objectified, therefore it is pure, therefore it is nectarine, therefore it is immortal. And all objects, let it be the world, Let it be the body, the senses, the thoughts, the convictions, the I as a thought. All this is Vishaya. The waker, dreamer, sleeper, with the waking world, dream world, and the no world, all this is Vishaya. That which has poison in it. It is an expression of poison. Oi, the whole world. My child is my poison. So, the moment you said my child, it's already poison. Now, don't go into an emotional journey. Oh my God, how can that be? Here, the topic is Atma. And therefore, if someone has not worked himself or herself out with regards to the objectivity of the world, then they will feel very disoriented in these classes. They'll feel scared. They'll feel this is like a committing suicide. They'll feel, how, if I don't interact with the world, how will I survive? Atma Tattva is avishaya. That means it cannot become the object of knowledge. Where is the knowledge taking place? One is transcendental knowledge. That is that Atma is Satchidanand Swarup. Chit Swarup means it's the knower without a thought. But our knowledge is at the level of thought in the mind. So that knowledge, that thought knowledge cannot illuminate the Atma Tattva, cannot illuminate the self. Then thought can illuminate what? It can illuminate only the objective world. What is the objective world? Inclusive of gross, subtle and causal. Gross is the waking world, subtle is the dream world, and causal is the deep sleep world. It can only illuminate that. See? अब इसके बाद what do you say after this? But we still have another 200 pages to go. This is the beauty of Jnaneshwar Maharaj and our Swamiji, who has written commentary on it so exhaustively that every line is a scripture in itself. Ordinary person cannot even contemplate in this manner, as Swamiji has written. So Atma Tattva is avishaya, that is, it cannot become the object of knowledge because none of the means of knowledge can operate in the field of pure self. None of the means of knowledge. Pratyaksha praman, shabda praman, anuman praman, etc. It only means that the Atma Tattva does not become the object of knowledge to be known by the means of knowledge. That is why the Anupalabdhi Pramana also fails when it comes into the field of Atma Tattva. So, it cannot be known. Atma Tattva cannot be known. No pramanas can function in the realm of Atma. No means of knowledge. Nothing can, when we are saying these words to establish Atma, we are talking about you. That no means of knowledge are capable of illuminating the self, capable of knowing the self, are capable of conceptualizing the self, are capable of feeling the self, are capable of or are not capable of seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting the self, sensory, mental, intellectual, all faculties are incapable. They become impotent in front of when it comes to the topic of the self. So Anupalabdhi is the presence in the absence cannot be available for objective as an objective knowledge. It cannot be available, cannot be known. But in absence, you are there. If you are trying to think that who is there after asking that question, if you have this disposition that I want to come, the mind asks the question, who is there, and I must get an answer in the mind only, then you will not get it. You have to be it. The presence in the absence is you. Don't try to work it out. Don't try to intellectualize it. Don't try to voice it. Don't try to perceive it as separate to yourself. Because the moment you try to objectify it, that very moment the thought comes into your mind. And therefore, maunam vyakhyat prakatita parabrahma tattvam yuvanam. Presence in absence is the conscious silence. You are that conscious principle in that silence. We looked at that in the Dakshinamurti Stotram. Therefore, pari nahi pana sagata khauni bharile pota te konahi sagata ka phavela. How can anything grasp that which has swallowed the nothingness along with its content? Beautiful. How can anything grasp that which has swallowed the nothingness? What is nothingness? Empty space, correct? Nothingness is empty space. In that empty space, the mental space is. In that mental space, the gross space is. In that gross space, the whole world is. When that absence, when that nothingness is swallowed, then in that swallowing, everything that was accommodated in that empty space, in that nothingness, is also swallowed. It's not that I have swallowed the nothingness, the absence, and the objects are still existing. It cannot. The cause of all the objects is absence. Where is the presence of objects? In the waking, in the gross manner, in the dream, in the subtle manner. What is the cause of all the variety in the waking and the dream? Deep sleep. Where do they come from? Where do they arise from? From the deep sleep. Where do they merge back into when we every night? They go back into deep sleep. What is deep sleep? Nothingness. Systematically think. So just like everything is absorbed into the deep sleep, even that deep sleep or and deep sleep is called nothingness when you are aware of absence of everything. That means you are awake in deep sleep. Then you will not call it deep sleep. You will say nothing. You will say void. You will say absence of everything. Even that absence is absorbed, is swallowed, is devoured by the consciousness. How does it devour? Not like I am, this is deep sleep, absence and I'm going to eat it. Not like that. How does the mind devour the senses? This is just a language. Mind alone is the material and the efficient cause of the senses. That's how it devours. How does the ocean devour the wave, swallow the wave? It doesn't have to swallow the wave physically. You come, I will finish you off. It devours the wave by being present in and through, before, after. The expression of the wave cannot be without the ocean. That is devouring. Devouring also means that the ocean knows that without it the wave cannot exist. We are saying that, but from ocean's point of view, it is one with the wave. He cannot imagine the wave to be separate from itself. Isn't it? Same way, the Atma cannot imagine the presence or the absence to be separate from itself. It's one with it, and because it is one with it, there is no objectivity of presence and absence for the Atma. Therefore, it is one without a second. How can anything grasp that which has swallowed the nothingness along with its contents? This you are experiencing not only every day, but every moment. It is happening. Every moment it is going on. Scriptures are just the mirror to make us perceive that which is already going on. The self is continuously devouring everything, swallowing everything. Presence as well as absence. From self's point of view, there is no dichotomy of subject and object. From self point of view, there is no dichotomy of presence and absence. We are thinking as an individual of how could, if Atma had to think, how it will think. So these words. The moment you accept that you are the Atma, words will stop. Well, they may stop, they may continue, but you will not be lost in the words then. It is not possible to apply asti nasti pratyaya, existence non-existence concept, to Atma Tattva. We cannot say Atma is or Atma is not. Is or is not are only two words. We have seen that in one of the chapters before. The existence word is used only to neutralize non-existence. Consciousness is used only to neutralize that which is not conscious. And bliss is used only to neutralize misery. So here when Swamiji is saying existence that asti nasti pratyaya, existence non-existence concept is foreign to Atma. Atma is one without a second. Where there is duality possible within the Atma? Then why did they say that Atma alone is expressing as the Aham and Idam? That was for explanation's sake, because you are not ready to accept that you are the Atma. And that was to show the Anvaya, that Atma alone is everything. But because we said Atma alone is everything, does not mean that there is everything. You be very attentive here. Because the scriptures talk about Atma is pervading everything, does not mean that everything is a reality, that everything exists. If everything exists, all the variety exists, and Atma also exists, there will be two existences. That we cannot accept. Because Atma is one without a second. So then if Atma is one about, then to explain that Atma alone is subject object, that Atma alone is presence absence, that Atma alone as if is expressing as all this. This is called, and why is it expressing? Is because of the Vivarta. For whom? For the individual. Because everything is only individual's idea. It is not Atmic idea. The variety from Atma's point of view, there is no variety. Then for whom is the variety? The individual. And who is the individual in essence? Atma. So we have forgot, because here we are not even talking about forgetting or not forgetting. We have to just accept that we are the Atma. Because we are not ready to accept, then some other ways of thinking, contemplating are presented, so that we can come to be the Atma. Otherwise we reject everything, we come to the Atma. But how is everything Atma? That also has to be shown, and the only means we have is the words right now. So then it was told that Atma alone becomes, or as if manifests as Aham and Idam, just as man alone as if manifests as the husband and the brother or the son. But where is the husband, brother and the son? They are existing in their own absence. If they are existing in their own absence, all the variety is existing in its own absence. All objectivity is only existing in its own absence. So the idea that Atma as if manifests as Aham Idam was only a play of words for you to impress upon our mind that everything in the mind is nothing but Atma, is nothing but the self. This is because we want to think. Atma doesn't think. Atma doesn't think. Atma doesn't divide. Atma doesn't dichotomize. Atma is one without a second. Just as space is one without a second at a physical level. The appearance or disappearance of the universe does not make a ripple in the space. It does not make even a ripple. The space does not gain anything if the universe collapses, and the space does not lose anything if the universe comes into existence. Even more so, Atma does not lose anything with the presence, objective presence, nor Atma gain anything with the absence of all the objectivity. Meaning, by waking, dream and deep sleep. This is just to impress upon our mind that Atma is the unclutched principle, untouched principle, constant principle. And because we have made this statement that Atma is not affected, influenced by presence or absence, does not mean that there is presence or absence. These examples are taken only to bring your attention to the uh, uh, fullness of the Atma. Just like the sunlight alone, alone gives us day and night. Without the sun, there is no day and night. Sun is day and night. Do we ever say that? From sun's point of view, there is nothing called day and night. Similarly, from Atmic point of view, there is nothing called presence and absence. Presence and absence is only from individual standpoint. An individual is he who is essentially the Atma, but imagining himself to be a specific being because of his identification with one particular body, mind, intellect, equipment. Drop this equipment. The pure self is never objectified. The asti nasti pratyaya, the senses are first conditioned to something that exists, asti, and when that object is removed, the senses register the absence, nasti. So now I am seeing you all. I close my eyes, now I don't see anything. So first you were, now when I close my eyes, you are not. Vision is not. Illumination is not. I'm hearing you all, or you are hearing me for last so long. You put your fingers into your ears. I may be speaking, but you will not hear anything. So the sounds were present. Now the sounds are not present. See? This asti is with reference to the earlier asti of that object. So what is that? This nasti, this absence is only with reference to the presence of the object. We are not saying absence, there is an object called absence. We have come to this conclusion that there is absence. Absence of what? Our question is always absence of what? Absence of what was present earlier. So I am saying, so was something, it appeared as a thought, then it unmanifested, it went away. Now the so is not there. There is absence of so. Then I came, then there is absence of I. So each thought is appearing, and when it disappears, there is absence of that thought. So that absence is not an object of knowledge. There is nothing called absence. How can nothing be how can nothing be a thing? It itself includes no thing. Thing is that object called the thought. This is a thing, one index finger. This is a thing, middle finger. This is a thing, ring finger. This is a thing, the small finger. So what is between these two fingers? Absence of the index finger and absence of the middle finger. This is the absence. Meaning these two fingers are not present. Where they are not present, we have given a word called absence. You cannot establish absence as absence when there is no reference. Understand? If there is no reference, you cannot establish absence. I need a reference of this and this in order to establish absence. I need waking and dream in order to establish deep sleep. Deep sleep is also absence. I need a reference. I see the whole universe of various galaxies and stars and planets, everything, and wherever there is, I have the reference of the various planets, and the space between the planets, I call it as absence or space. Again, there is a reference, isn't it? I have a reference of this body and your body, and the gap between is the absence. Again, there is a reference. Go subtler. One thought, two thought, second thought, third thought. Between the two, all the thoughts, where the thoughts, there is no thought, that is called as absence of thought. Again, with reference to thoughts alone, you are establishing there is absence of thought, isn't it? But absence of thought, or that absence, is not an object. That absence is coined, is termed only with reference to an object. Disappearance of that object is called as absence. See? Think. We may not have thought like this before. But this is healthy. It takes away our obsession with the world. Are we here in the satsang to establish the world is? Are we here in the world to establish that absence is? Or are we here to recognize that Atma alone is? We have to be very clear. Are we here to establish that I understand? If you understand, avidita dadhi. Kenopanishad. If you understand, you have not understood anything. So are we here to understand, or are we here to be? Hopefully in one of these satsangs this clicks. Then story is over. Then continue this thing. But you will never lose yourself. Questions appear only because we want to work it out. You cannot work it out. How can the eyes see themselves? How can the intellect come to know that which is beyond the intellect? That is what leads to questioning. What can the intellect do? Questions are only something you have conceptualized in your intellect, and it is not clicking, it is not gelling. Then the questions, then you want to gel it, you want to understand it, you want to conceptualize it, you want to objectify it. Concept is also an object. You want to objectify it. Understanding is objectifying, without a doubt. But is self something that you have to be convinced about? Is self a concept? It is that razor's edge that we have to walk. If any questions come in our mind, leave them aside. Go with the flow of the satsang. Remain attentive of for whom did this question arose. For us, question is the important. For us, the one in whose presence the question appeared That is not important. And when we give importance to the question and we give importance to the understanding, immediately we come out with the question. Catch this within yourself. Every satsang is a window of opportunity to be with yourself as yourself. It is not an opportunity for understanding yourself. You can never understand yourself. Satsang is for abidance. Satsang is for being. Satsang is not to convince. Even though we use those words so that some want to be convinced, some want to understand. Okay, understand. But every now and then we put these type of thoughts. It's beyond understanding. Then okay. Then suddenly we have got nothing to hold on to. What do I do? I can't even understand. I'm not allowed to even conceptualize. Then what do I do? No, don't do anything. There you are. Not doing anything is being conscious of being the consciousness which has swallowed the absence. Maunam vyakyat. Thus, existence or non-existence was only with reference to that object. Such objectification is not possible in the case of Atma Tattva. Everything that is anatma, you can conceptualize, you can feel, you can see, hear, touch, feel, taste, you can think about. But Atma, which is the essence of everything, it cannot be. None of these approaches are valid there. In fact, the pure consciousness swallows even the non-existence or ignorance. Therefore, when non-existence itself has been swallowed up by the pure self as in deep sleep state, how the talk about ignorance is possible? If we are conscious in deep sleep, or we are conscious, or we remain conscious when the objective thought concludes, and how can there be absence? Only you are there. And if you say there is absence, then your approach is objective. You're not subjective. Your attention was on the thoughts and now there is no thoughts, that no thought state. Instead of seeing that only you are there, you are saying there is nothing there. And that nothing was there, you say nothing is there because of your obsession with the thoughts. You were illuminating the thoughts, now there is nothing to illuminate. When there is nothing to illuminate, because you are of the nature of light, but there is nothing coming in front of you. Absence means there is blank. There is no objectivity. But because of your obsession with objectivity, now when all the objects dissolve, you have objectified that state also, and you call it deep sleep state, or you call it absence, or you call it nothingness, or you call it emptiness, or you call it absence, because of your obsession with objectification. But if you remain silent and not go in that direction and recognize that only you are, and that is possible only if you are subjective. And that being subjective which is beyond presence and absence, that eternal subject, if we have to use the words, which is even pervading the absence, because our obsession is with the presence, so we say absence, which is present in and through the absence. If we, when the last thought dissolves, if we are conscious, if we are subjective, then we will not enter into absence. Then we'll establish in ourselves. Entering into absence means nirvikalpa samadhi. And that nirvikalpa samadhi is also temporary. Otherwise, opportunity between two thoughts that you are having, every moment there is an opportunity for you to realize yourself. Because you have never become less, you have never become more, you are always there. Whether there is a thought or no thought, you are always there. A thought takes you away from yourself. In absence, you should be with yourself, but you choose not to be yourself and say there is nothing. You choose to remain ignorant. And that's what this chapter is telling. There is nothing called ignorance. There is nothing called absence. From Atmic point of view, there is nothing, and you are the Atma. There is nothing called absence. Chitta vritti nirodha iti yogaha. Chitta vritti nirodha, dissolution of all thoughts. Then afterwards it should have come. Now there is absence, and through the absence, then tada drashtuhu swarupya avasthanam. It didn't say that. Straight away it said, when the last thought dissolves, tada drashtuhu swarupya avasthanam. Now you are established in the self. But the student is imaginative. No, I am not able to do it. Why are the thoughts coming? Why is the mind not stay? I had a glimpse of it, but why is it not staying there? Then the conditions of mind were told. You can elongate the process. 7 chakras, Ashtanga Yoga, Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para, Kriya Yoga, breathe, breathe, oh breathe. You can elongate the process. The more the delay is a proof of your strong ego. The more the delay, the more the elongation. But this step, but that step, I'm still at Muladhar. Has my Muladhar opened? Have I gone beyond Vaikhari to Madhyama? All these questions, you are not ready to be who you are in essence. You're obsessed with objectivity. We are choosing to be ignorant where there is no ignorance, because we are not accepting we are free of ignorance. We are the Atma. Atma is nature of light. For the light, there is nothing called illumination and darkness. It only knows illumination. And it doesn't know illumination as an objective perception. It is of the nature of illumination. When the deep sleep has been the absence in the deep sleep state has been swallowed by the Atmic Tattva, then how can the talk about ignorance is possible? How can the talk of absence or nothingness is possible? Not possible. This sentence is only valid for those who are subjective. If you are trying to work out the self objectively, forget it. Bypass this sentence. It will not click. But no, leave it. And how will I refine more? Be cool. Stop asking questions to others and to yourself. Stop trying to understand. Stop trying to conceptualize. Very coolly we say, yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. The words cannot reach it, the mind cannot comprehend it. Then how come we are asking so many questions? On one hand we say, yes, that is true. So what was true there that has become untrue now that you are asking? Or having a doubt? Being subjective is a different, it's a game, it's a different knack, it's a knack. That knack gets hijacked, gets dissolved when the individuality chooses not to remain silent. In spite of doubts, in spite of questions, in spite of everything, that individuality must appreciate that in remaining silence alone, in that poise alone, it will click. But the absence of the knowledge of the Atma through the means of knowledge should not be taken to mean that Atma is asat vastu, meaning but the absence of the knowledge of Atma. Because I cannot think of Atma, thinking of Atma is not equal to being the Atma. Atma is, the self is in spite of thinking or non-thinking. So when Swamiji says here, but the absence of the knowledge of the Atma, absence of the knowledge, which knowledge? Thought knowledge. In the absence of thought knowledge or understanding knowledge or conceptual knowledge or of the Atma, because it cannot be conceptualized, if it is a concept, if it is conceptualized, it is a thought. The word Atma is a thought in our mind right now. It's an idea. The thought Atma in our mind is not equal to Atma. So here when he says that, but the absence of the knowledge of the Atma through the means of knowledge. What are the means of knowledge? Here, intellect and mind. Aprapya manasa saha. Because mind and intellect or the speech are not able to illuminate the Atma by words, by thoughts, by experience, objective experience, does not mean that the Atma is not. So what do? This finger is there, this finger is not there. This finger is there, this finger is not there. Now we want to apply the same means of knowledge of the relative world to the Atma also. If I think, then the Atma should be there. If I can't think, about Atma, then Atma is not there. See, because same habit is being transferred to the subjective knowledge, to the essence. Here my knowledge is this laptop is there, now there is no laptop. So as long as I'm thinking of the Atma, then Atma is. If I'm not thinking of the Atma, there is no Atma. Stupid conclusion. The rules of engagement in the objective world do not apply, are not valid when it comes to the subject, that is the Atma. So here a word of precaution, that because my means of knowledge are invalid with reference to Atma, which I am already, and because I cannot see it, I cannot hear it, I cannot touch it, I cannot think it, I cannot conceptualize it, does it mean that it is not there? No, don't go to that conclusion. That conclusion that it is not there, it will only happen if you are searching it objectively. This is where the Bauddhas come and stop, that it cannot be known. Vedanta says, but you are there. They have come to the absence, that come to that non-knowingness. They have come to that nothingness, emptiness. But who is illuminating the emptiness? Who is present in the emptiness? Is absence an object of perception? No. Then how did you come to know that there is nothing? If absence is not an object of perception, then how did you come to know that there is nothing? See? But the absence of the knowledge of the Atma through the means of knowledge should not be taken to mean that Atma is asat vastu, that Atma is not, and therefore ignorance is. Understand, the chapter is Ajnana Khandana. We are removing the idea from our mind that there is anything called ignorance. That ignorance expresses as absence, nothingness, void, emptiness. When we look at the outside world, if there are no objects in the world, we call it empty space. That same space, when we say come to the subtle, it is called the mind space. Mind space, I feel if I'm thinking thoughts, I am sane. If I am not able to think thoughts, I'm going insane. Correct. That is the gross absence. This is the subtle absence. We are trying to come to a point where we are saying you are the conscious. What you are is present. Whether there is gross, subtle or causal absence, it does not matter, because absence as an object is not there only. Mind without thoughts is consciousness. Mind without thoughts is not equal to absence. Got it? Mind without thoughts is consciousness. Therefore it was told tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. Because of our obsession in the world, in the outside world, presence, absence, presence, absence, presence, absence. At the subjective level, which is at the mind level, it is for the mind. The subjective and objective ideas are only for the mind, not for the self. Here also, the outside rules of engagement, it brings in here also in the mind that when there are no thoughts, I am in absence. No, there is nothing called absence. There is presence. You are there. Because the material out of which the mind is made up is nothing but consciousness. Consciousness with thoughts is called mind. Mind without thoughts is consciousness. How many times we have said that? Did we say mind without thoughts is equal to absence? We never said that. Never in any lecture we have ever said that mind without thoughts is equal to absence. Never. We have said mind without thoughts is consciousness. Be that. ये मजा है contemplation का. It should not remain an intellectual appreciation of what is being said. Remain subjective. The thought continues. जो आपणासी नव्हे विखो तो कोणार लाहे देखो जेवी वाणी न शके चाखो आपणापे. He says, the self who cannot objectify himself, who else can see it, just as the tongue cannot taste itself? Who can see it? Because we are so obsessed with objective experience, just like now the examples are taken, I am going to add some more, one more. Just as here it is said, the tongue cannot taste itself. Similarly, eyes cannot see themselves. Similarly, the ears cannot hear themselves. Similarly, with other senses, similarly, the mind cannot think about itself. If it thinks, it will dissolve. The Atma is not able to make itself an object of its own perception. Just like eye cannot make its own golakar, its own vision as an object of illumination, just as the tongue cannot taste itself objectively, similarly, Atma cannot make itself an object of knowledge or perception. It cannot objectify itself. The subject can never become the object. So when we are trying to objectify the self, that means we have taken a position in the mind as the I which comes and goes rather than being the eternal subject. See? The subject can never become the object. Such being the case, how can anything else know the self? Nothing can know the self. Nothing can ever know the self. Something also can never know the self. Huh? Something and nothing. Absence, presence and absence. Presence also cannot know the self. That is objective thought. Absence of objective thought also cannot know the self. Such being the case, how can anything else know the self? The knowledge about anything is possible only in the light of pure consciousness, which itself is the sole source of complete knowledge. How can anything else know the self? It is not possible. It must dawn upon us that thoughts are temporary, concepts are temporary, perception is temporary. examples are incomplete, thoughts are incomplete, concepts are incomplete. When we become thoroughly convinced that whatever thought is, in other words, any thought that comes in my mind is incomplete, is temporary, with that comes the the revelation that thought cannot reveal the source. And for that, the examples were given. Eye cannot reveal, the tongue cannot taste itself, mind cannot think about itself. The knowledge about anything is possible only in the light of pure consciousness. Everything that we know here right now, you are listening because there is pure consciousness, not because there is mind. That mind is the interim, it's still the instrument only. But that mind is functioning because of whom? The pure consciousness. So the eyes are lighting up the world. I see the various objects. Who is lighting up the eyes and the various senses? The mind is lighting up all the five senses. Who is lighting up the mind? The pure consciousness, the eternal light. And that eternal light right now is only illuminating the waking experience. We are in the waking experience right now. It also illuminates the dream. There also data is there. See? So it's not only here. All the states are illuminated by it. So at this moment, are we taking ourselves as the waker? Are we taking ourselves as the I, as a thought? Or are we taking ourselves, or are we taking ourselves as an individual? Or are we taking ourselves as the eternal one? We can only inspire, but you have to be. Scriptures can only direct you, but you have to be. How can anything else know the self? The student began the argument by saying that it is said that the truth is one without a second, that there is no duality or dualism, but we are experiencing both all the time. The truth is, in truth, there is no duality and dualism, and yet we are experiencing both all the time. Duality is outside, dualism is within. Dualism is aham and idam, and the duality, the variety, the sense of separation, that is seen outside. And there is no dualism, but we are experiencing it both all the time. If they are not in the Atma, where from they have come? Understand the question. If they are not, if all the variety or the duality and dualism is not in the Atma, if this day and night are not in the sun, then where have the day and night come from? That is the question. If the man and the father and the son are, the father, the son and the husband are not in the man, then why do I seem to be behaving only as father, the son and the husband? Why don't I behave like a man? Where did these three come from? Such is the question. Where did the snake come from on the rope? If in the rope there is no snake, then where did the snake come from? If there is only me, if there is only the self without any break, then where has this variety come from? That is the question. Have we asked this question? It must, and because I can't come to an answer, then we say it must have come from ignorance, and therefore ignorance is. See, we say, no, waking and dream, where have they come from? Today only, in today's lecture, satsang only, I said that waking and dream have come. What is the source of waking and dream? Deep sleep. What is deep sleep? Absence. Another word for absence, ignorance. So we say they have come from there. But that is initial stages. Where we are right now, there we are even refuting we are not ready to accept with the whole analysis. We are obsessed with present and absence. We are obsessed with knowledge and ignorance. Now we are saying there is only knowledge. And when you have to come to that, it is only knowledge, then there is no absence, there is no ignorance. But that knowledge, when we say it is only knowledge, it cannot be thought knowledge, it is the atmic knowledge. It is the self-revealed knowledge. It is the self-illuminating knowledge, which is independent of thought knowledge or absence of thoughts. Absence of thoughts give rise to thoughts, gives rise to the world. Or when we collapse the world, we come to the thoughts. When we collapse the thoughts, we have been seeing, or it is our experience from waking, dream and deep sleep, that we go into a state of ignorance which is called deep sleep. But can you have the same conclusion that I go into deep sleep if I remain awake in deep sleep? If deep sleep is a state of ignorance, if I remain awake, can I say I went into ignorance? Think thoda sa alag se, think differently. I'm also thinking as I'm talking. Contemplation is going on. I'm trying to unfold everything, take out all the coverings. So if I remain awake in absence, can I say that I am illuminating the deep sleep state? Then only I am. Deep sleep state was only with reference to waking and dream. They were the manifest. And till I did not know, till I fell into sleep, I called it deep sleep. Now I am awake. So from waking and dream, I end up in myself. I bypass the pashyanti. Pashyanti is deep sleep state. I bypass the pashyanti. Then can I say I am in ignorance? No. I am in darkness? No. I am in void? No. Why? I am there. So the student was arguing that the ignorance exists because we do not know, because if they are not in the Atma, where has the variety of the world come from? That variety of the world must have come from ignorance. That was his argument. And for that argument, this whole discussion was the question. The question was also raised by the teacher and by the mind of the teacher. And that teacher alone, Jnaneshwar Maharaj alone, is answering that question also. Sant Jnaneshwar observes that this is a wrong logic because the tongue cannot taste itself nor the eyes see themselves. Does that mean that the tongue or the eyes are not, or the speech is asat? Because the tongue cannot taste itself and the eyes cannot see themselves, does it mean that eyes don't exist? Take this example a bit further. Because I cannot think of myself as I in the mind, does it mean that I don't exist? Not being able to think thoughts, have I become absent? Now there is nothing, there is void. You are imagining. It's only your fertile imagination. You still continuing. Does that mean that the tongue or the eyes are not, or the speech is asat? It only means that the vani is, that means the speech is a vishaya. That speech has become non-objective. The speech has become unmanifest. The speech has become unmanifest. The thoughts have become unmanifest. That's all. That is the phenomena. Because there is night at night, has the sun vanished? Is it a result of ignorance? Or all that night is equal to unmanifestation of the sun? So unmanifestation of the sun is leading to, unmanifestation of the sun means, I shouldn't say unmanifestation of the sun, unmanifestation of the sunlight. Yes. Sun is continuous. Sun has never come and gone. But the sun's ability to express as light is not available. That unavailability we call as night, isn't it? So where's the question of ignorance? Sun is always there. For a small child, you may say, see, the sun has, he has gone away. But he has not gone away anywhere. He is still there where he is. Similarly, Atma is not gone away anywhere. The thoughts manifested as presence of thoughts, and thoughts as unmanifested as absence of thoughts. So this night that we call as night is only with reference to the day. Day is nothing but reflected sunlight. Thoughts are nothing but reflected, the Atma's reflection. And what is Atma's reflection doing? It appears as subject and object dichotomy. Experiencer, experience, experiencing. Knower, known, knowing. That is the thought, triputi. Now that triputi is not happening. If triputi is not happening, do we call it ignorance? The presence of the triputi, or the unmanifestation or the manifestation of the triputi, has got nothing to do with the light in which their appearance and disappearance is taking place. The appearance and disappearance of the day and night has got nothing to do with the sun. It is dependent on the sun, but the sun has got nothing to do with both of them. Similarly, Atma has got nothing to do with the manifestation of the thoughts or unmanifestation of the thoughts. Catch this right now. In the same way, if one is able to know the Atma Tattva through the different means of knowledge, it does not mean that the Atma is not and that ignorance is. Even though we are using so many words to explain, to understand, through to negotiate through the words and come to the contemplation, we are using the various words: presence, absence, knowledge, ignorance, waking dream, manifestation, unmanifestation, deep sleep. All this does not mean that Atma is not absent, has become absent. It is present when there is manifestation, and it is also present when the Atma, we are talking about you are present, and in your light the manifestation of the thoughts is also taking place, and in your presence the unmanifestation of the thoughts is also there. And unmanifestation of the thoughts, if you coin it as absence, emptiness, nothingness, it's your mistake, because we are using that language only with reference to presence of thought. But actually, when there is no thought, you are. When there is no knowledge, thought knowledge, then you are. There is nothing called ignorance. When the thought is, then also you are. Because thought only appeared. Just like sun is, whether there is day or whether there is night. Sun is continuous principle. Some place in the daytime it is available, in night it seems to be unavailable, it is always there. But that is a very, again, it is a limited example. It is a physical example. But here, the presence of the thoughts and the absence of the thoughts, which is going on in the mind, because mind is made up of duality, presence and absence, knowledge and ignorance, both are illumined by someone, by an illuminator, and that illuminator I am. I have not come and gone. I have not manifested or unmanifested. I have not become awake or dreamt or slept. I am the continuous one. I am the eternal one. Think in this manner, contemplate in this manner. It does not mean that the Atman is not and that ignorance is. So don't think that the manifestation of the world of variety has come out of ignorance. Everything is nothing but the self. Within the self, the manifestation and unmanifestation is going on. Within the infinite ocean, the manifestation and unmanifestation of the wave is going on. Within the total gold, the manifestation of the ornament and unmanifestation of the ornament is going on. Within the mud, the manifestation of the pots and unmanifestation of the pot is going on. Similarly, in the Atma, the manifestation of the waking and dream and unmanifestation of the waking and dream is going on. In simple words, manifestation or unmanifestation is happening in the Atma. Atma is pervading in and through. Question is, your attention is on the Atma or your attention is on the phenomena. When your attention is on the phenomena, you will say attention will be on ignorance. When you be the Atma, Atma by nature is all knowledge. So there is no question of ignorance. We'll conclude here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.